Welcome to the My Three Things podcast with your host, Will Byington. Each week features Will alone or with a guest, a celebrity, actor, musician, athlete, author, influencer, or friend sharing their three favorite things of the moment. What they are watching, reading, listening to, interested in, or enjoying. Hopefully turning you into your new favorite thing. And now, here's your host, Will Byington.
Hello again, everybody. Will Byington back with another episode of My Three Things. It's my new podcast that I started earlier this year, and we're starting up season 2. My Three Things, introducing you to an athlete, musician, performer, actor, influencer, to share three things that are rocking their world, hopefully turning you on to your new favorite thing. Please check it out wherever podcasts are found, and please share it with your friends. You can also use the hashtag My3ThingsPodcast on Twitter and Instagram. Please share and spread the word. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button down below. I can't tell you how much that helps out and helps spread the word. My Three Things. Here we go for season 2. Thrilled to introduce you to one of my favorite people, one of the funniest people in sports and entertainment, as well as one of my favorite pitchers to watch. He pitched for teams from the Florida Marlins, the Cincinnati Reds, the Texas Rangers, the Boston Red Sox, and your very own Chicago Cubs. He's also known as one of the best Harry Carey impersonators out there, and like I said, one of the funniest people around. Host of Off the Mound on the MLB Network and charity events around. We'll talk about all of that and more. Please welcome to My Three Things, Ryan Dempster.
Hello, Will. Good to see you. I love your beautiful prints you got back there. I have a feeling I know the person who took those pictures.
Yeah, you know, I kind of figured for talking to you, it was good to be in my little cubby corner here at my little abode. Good old Wrigley Field. Both of our home away from home, it feels like at times.
Isn't it? It's so great. I just I love being there both inside and outside. It's interesting, like during all the kind of pandemic stuff when there weren't fans allowed, and then this year when they started coming back and just being outside of it and riding around on my bike or walking around, it's just like one of the coolest places on earth. It's pretty awesome. What
was it like the first time you got to go to a game as a fan? What was it like? I know you've sat in the bleachers before. What was that like to come as a player and come back to Wrigley as a fan? Chris Bryant came out and said he can't wait. He can't wait to do that. So what was that like?
Yeah, it was great. Actually, my first game as a fan, I sat out in the bleachers in left field and just enjoyed some cold beers. And it was an April day, so it was pretty chilly. But I was fresh off of winning a World Series with the Red Sox and got to come back and just had a blast with a couple friends and my now wife. We were sitting out there, so it was special. I just remember yelling. Ryan Kalish, who was playing who actually was with me with the Red Sox, and he's like, "Who is this guy yelling at me?" And then he just kind of looks up and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So it's fun to take it in as a fan, and I do that a ton now.
Well, as a bleacher season ticket holder, I know you've joined us in right center before, but you can't beat sitting out in that corner with Ken Kiefer and those guys. It's always a good time out there.
Yeah, it is. And like I've missed it since, my youngest brother, he's a firefighter back in Vancouver, and with the border being shut down. Every September, he would bring a group of firefighters and they would go sit in the bleachers and just get absolutely wasted and have a great time. So I miss seeing them down here.
As a single guy, though, I'm kind of glad that's not happening, because literally those games when they would show up, every beautiful woman migrated to that section of the bleachers. And, that's when I would go over there and say, "My name's Will Dempster." It was weird. It was weird how that worked out.
I don't blame them. A lot of those guys either have or could appear in the fireman's calendar. So I always tell them, it's fine. I'll hang out with you guys as long as you keep your shirts on.
Love it. So before we get into my three things that are rocking Ryan Dempster's world right now, what do you got coming up? I know you're doing a special event with Club 400, Cubs Charities. You've done excellent events. It was just the anniversary of one of the Off the Mound charity events that you did. That was an absolute blast. The times you did that. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, it's funny you say that about the anniversary. It's just, how fast time flies, and to think 3 years ago, doing the the event at the Vic Theater, the first ever charity benefit of Off the Mound, and the live show, and it was just so much fun. And ended up doing a couple of those, and continue to try and figure out ways as we get back to some sort of normalcy at some point where we can do that again. And like you said, September 10th, we're doing Club 400. So have a chance to go out there and be a part of the whole crew there. We're raising money for the Clone family, which is really great. And there's people out there that need things, and being able to provide and an environment where fans are able to donate through a ticket, come have a bunch of great cocktails and beers, and tell some stories and share some Cubs stories and make people smile and laugh, because that's what life's all about. If we can do that, and all the while for a great cause. So I'm happy to be a part of that. And then we're actually doing a card break. The card industry is kind of booming nowadays in the memorabilia. So Elite Sports Cards, we're just coming up with a date. It will be probably within the next week to 10 days. We'll figure out and do a little case break for charity, so people can buy into a team, hopefully get their favorite player out of that case, and all the rest of the money will go to the 22Q Family Foundation. So two great causes. That's awesome. And we're looking forward to doing both of those.
Well, I've been lucky enough to photograph your Off the Mounds, which were amazing, and had guys like Anthony Rizzo and Jeff Garland, and all the way back to the casino night at the House of Blues. Man, do I miss those. Those are fun times, and can't wait to see what you come up with next. I'll put those links down below so everybody can track those down and follow along, and hopefully get involved and help the good causes.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I always appreciate you. You're always so fabulous about coming out and shooting the shows, and the guests that we get have a ton of fun, and everybody I feel like who comes to the events have a good time. That's what I always, years and years and years of going to charity events and fundraisers. One common denominator I had when I left them was my favorite ones were always the ones I had the most fun at.
Yeah, you really
try to provide that experience for people.
I'm glad to see Ryan Dempster knows how to have fun. I know it's taken years for you to figure that out. You're not really known for being a fun guy or having fun. So I know it's really a stretch for you to break out of your shell and do those. So it's really tough, I'm sure.
Many a manager who thought, man, if I could just get that guy to be a little bit more serious, he'd be all right.
I love it. Well, you really always have to twist my arm, because same thing. I don't really like to have fun, and I struggled photographing epic Ryan Dempster events. So let's jump in. My three things.
Always on the backdoor list. The VIP list. It's always there.
I like it. Let's jump in. My three things. The whole idea behind this podcast. I'm kind of starting season 2. I kind of took the summer off. But the whole idea was inspired by COVID and quarantining. I feel like we miss sitting at a bar, talking to a bartender, talking to people in our life, and having them be like, "Oh my God, have you read this book? Have you seen this movie? Have you listened to this song?" I feel like we missed that over the last year and a half. So I thought I'd get Ryan Dempster. My three things. What's number one for Ryan Dempster?
I think number one, probably, and there's probably a lot of people on this list, and for anybody who hasn't watched this, Ted Lasso is, it encompasses everything that, kind of I love. Like, it's heartfelt. It's got this kindness and softness to it. The humor in it is next level. And it just, I just think it's kind of neat too, being somebody who's from a different country. For him to be going from the US over to England and kind of just merging two different cultures together. And I just love it. Every episode we watch, it's like, I can't wait for the next one to come out. And Jason Sudeikis to me is hilarious. He makes me laugh. So, and then the character and the plots within the show are just phenomenal. It's one of those, the very few comedies have I watched, although, I guess it would be more of a comedy than a dramedy, but very few have I been like, I cannot wait till the next one comes out. Like this one's got me locked. Like I was just itching and scratching. I don't know how many times I picked up the remote onto Apple TV and was like, is it on yet? Is it in? I know it said it starts to take. Maybe we released it early. So it's just totally got me locked in.
I spoiled myself. So I caught on to it late last year. Right. So I had heard about it, put it off, finally watched it, and was lucky enough the season had ended. So I was able to binge watch. And I think I watched it all in basically under 2 days. The same thing, just could not stop. It's the perfect, I actually used it, I think, on episode 1 of the first season of My Three Things. And now it's perfect that you're saying it for the second season. It's so good. It's been fascinating to read now that they've talked about filming the second season, how his life mirrored it a little bit. He got divorced, separated, and just everything about it. It's just perfect. I binge watched this whole season. I watched the first episode, and then because of knowing that frustration, I waited a couple weeks. I just binge watched it, and then I was like, wait, that's all there is? So I'm right there waiting with you for the next episode. It's so good.
It reminds me, he reminds me a lot of Joe Madden.
Really?
Yeah, just like the demeanor of the approach at which Joe kind of manages people. And, Joe always, I'll never forget being on the other side of the field. I was with the Red Sox in 2013, and the Rays started off the season like poorly, very poorly that year. We ended up meeting them in the NLDS. But I'll never forget Joe Madden was doing an interview after the game. And I think at the time they were like, 4-10 or something like that. And the reporter asked him about the season, and he's like, hey, this is the best 4-10 team in baseball.
Oh, that's awesome.
He just always had this very good positive approach to finding the great things. If a game was 10-0, he found the one reliever who had a great game, and he was going to highlight that. And sports are just built on failure. You're going to fail. And then when they do fail, we're like so shocked. Like, oh my God, he could fail 7 out of 10 times and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame as a hitter. Like that's the reality. And Joe kept that perspective. And when I watch, Ted Lasso, I just think that I'm like, hey, he reminds me a lot of that. Although Joe never baked me any cookies and brought them to me. So, that we'll still work on. He's got time.
He'll be coming back to Chicago at some point. That's I want to know what kind of cookies Joe Madden bakes you. What's number 2 on Ryan Dempster's list?
Well, it's funny. Listening wise, and I'm somebody that I've liked before, and I don't know why I've gotten back into him, but my wife kind of cranked that motor again. Eric Church, and I love riding bikes, and so I do a lot of bike rides. I ride up from Wrigleyville area up to Northwestern, and then down past Navy Pier and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have any go-to songs for Eric Church?
I think favorite song from Eric Church right now, "Hell of a View." A couple different reasons. I think sometimes things are crazy right now. And if we just stop, put our feet on the ground, and take a look around, you just got to remember that we're fortunate to be where we are. So,
have you seen him live?
I have not. I've met him a couple times. He's good friends with Jake Peavy. So during the playoff run we had with the Red Sox, he was around, and was a really nice, kind gentleman. And he was one of those guys where I always listened to his music, never saw him live, kind of drifted away from the music, and then got back into it. Now I'm itching to see it. I mean, him and Luke Combs. I'm a country guy. I like rock and roll. I pretty much like all kinds of music. I mean, you never know where we'll pop up and bump into each other at a concert, but I'm really looking forward to going and see.
I ran into you just recently at Journey, which blew me away.
Right? How great was that? That was incredible.
It was such a great show. I did not expect it to be as much fun as it was. You know all the Journey songs, and then you're like, holy shit, I know every single song they played.
You're like, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. Oh, wait. And you're just like, all of a sudden you just had a giant sing-along and you didn't even realize that you knew that many Journey songs. You're exactly right.
Oh, it was so good. And then Luke Combs, we'll have to set you up. My buddy Chris Cappy is his manager and has been managing Luke since he was playing to 8 people. And Luke Combs is another one that you mentioned that is just killing it lately.
Luke Combs, like, I'm into Eric Church right now, but I've been into Luke Combs, like, honestly, since the day he came out. And Mary Beck, who she worked at MLB Network with me. She was in charge of our marketing. You know, when we went to Innings Fest a couple years ago and Luke Combs was playing, she said, I got to get over Luke Combs. And then that was the first time I'd really, like, you know, started listening to him, and then got into him. And then in beginning of quarantine, I didn't, you know, everything, you didn't want to be into stores with everybody. So I turned my garage into basically like a lounge. I put black curtains, these black sheets around the whole thing. I put some lights, and I put a music system in there. And I mean, countless afternoons with my little daughter, I'm in there singing Luke Combs with her. And it's just, you know, he's my jam, dude. I just love him, man. He's like, he connects with the fans very well, and he's always he's always fun to listen to.
Yeah, Cappy. I'll still never forget talking to my buddy Cappy, who, like I said, is his manager, and he was like, "There's this guy out of North Carolina that, you know, he's playing to like 10 people a night, but I just believe in him," and he stuck with him for that reason, because he writes incredible hits, but also just truly is just, he is who you see. He is, you know, he's what you get. You know, what you want is what you get with Luke Combs. And it's been amazing to watch his rise. And yeah, he knows how to write a catchy hit. That's for sure.
He does. And Kelly, my wife, and I, we went to the CMT Awards show, and he came out and did, you know, Beer Never Broke My Heart. And the kicker was, like, catchy tune, yes, and all this stuff. But you know, you're like good, and like you captivate people when all of the other performers and artists that are there, you know, I was sitting just kind of a few rows behind them all. And like, when you have Luke Bryan and Dierks Bentley and Brothers Osborne and all these Old Dominion and everybody, and, you know, Marie Morris, and they're all standing up and dancing like crazy and singing along to your hit. Yeah. You know, like, that's like when Ted Williams came to the All-Star break. I mean, like, compare the All-Star game, it's like everybody stands up and you're like, whoa. Like, that's how Luke Combs felt. And like, you know, to me, I was like already impressed with him, and I'm like, wow, everybody loves this dude, and rightfully so. Yeah,
he's the real deal. It's awesome. And like I said, I love, you know, in a world of music business that is all about image, I love that he, just like I said, he's who he is. You know, he doesn't fall into that, got to look like a certain thing or a certain way. Number 3. What's number 3 on your My 3 Things?
Yeah, so books, right? So when I read a book, one of the biggest struggles for me is the staying with the book all the way to the end. It has to captivate me, and you know, some good books do that. But like, I read a book recently, coming back. I read the whole book on 2 plane flights there and back. And it was wow. the Tao of Bill Murray.
Awesome. And, tell me about
it. Like, when you're laughing out loud on a plane ride, you know, and people are kind of looking at you like, what's going on? Like, the amount of times within the book I was doing that, you know, the way it's written, it's very kind of interview format. So you have other people sharing stories, but as well. And, you know, it just gives you a really good understanding for Bill. Like, when he does his goofy stuff and he does his things, you realize that's just who he is. And I really appreciate that, because, like, you know, I'm that goofy guy. Although I don't have the clout of a Bill Murray, I might walk up behind you on a street in New York City and close your eyes. You know, like, those are the kind of things I've always been doing. And I just appreciate, you know, when you talked about Luke Combs and being who he is, Bill is who he is. And, you know, if you understand that, I think we'd all be better that way in life if we just understood people are who they are, and we accept them for who they are, or we don't. We either hang out with them or we don't. And Bill beats to his own drum, and I just found myself just completely, utterly enthralled in the book and laughing and kind of bummed out when it ended.
So I'm actually not familiar with that one. I know it's not by him, I don't believe. Who wrote it, or how did it come about? Is it just based on his stories, basically?
Yeah, it's basically he's in there with quotes. Okay. Bill is as well, and a lot of interactions, from interactions to people are like, hey, come to my bachelor party. And, Bill gives them the sure, I'll be right there. And then he never shows up until all of a sudden an hour later, Bill's in the hotel room, and they're like, what the heck? And then 2 minutes later, Bill's gone. And, like that's those kind of things, like the poking fun with people and having fun and then turning around and say your friends will never believe you, and it's kind of true. Like sometimes when I remember the first time ever hanging out, we'd seen him and met him at Cubs games and shook hands and all those kind of things, but I never really hung with him or hung out with him. And him and his brother were sitting at the hotel bar in 2007 as we were getting ready to try. All we needed to do was win one game in Miami and we clinched the division. And there's Bill sitting at the bar and he's rocking this great mustache. And I just came walking over and I was like, hey, dude, you're incognito tonight, huh? And he like looked at me, what the heck, mustache? And then we just sat there and had a few pops late at night. And then the next day, Lou brings me in with a runner on third in a one-run game in the 8th inning. And I got to try and preserve this lead. And I'll never forget it because I come set and I'm like, I'm like runner on first and third, 1 out, get the double play ball and I can get out of this. And I come set and I kind of like look to check the runner and there's Bill in the first row at Pro Player Stadium behind the runner and he just looks at me, Will, and he goes, and he puts himself up. I just step off. I'm like, what the heck is this, dude? I can't be having this right now. So, he's a ton of fun to be around. He's obviously at times probably kind of like piss people off, but at the same time, I look at what is asked from him on a daily basis when he leaves the house it's not normal. The amount of people that want a picture, an autograph, or his time, and he's an interesting cat, and I definitely have a special bond with him and a good relationship. But reading the book just made me laugh because I've never heard half those stories.
I'll have to check that out there. So as you know, I've been lucky to photograph his golf outing, the Murray Brothers Caddyshack charity golf outing. We're going on 10 years now, and it is just amazing working with him and all the brothers, Joel, Andy, Johnny, Ed, who unfortunately passed away, as Brian. They're just incredible, and for a family that has reached that level, and they keep each other humble, they keep each other in line. It's awesome.
I love hearing about his sister being a nun. I like, you talked about all his brothers and like kind of felt like that might have been like the only choice for her because to care for all of those boys and make sure that they're in line and doing their thing. And Bill tells a great story in there about how they showed up at the convent one time with suitcases and they were down in the car yelling, "It's okay, we can go, jump out the window, we got you." Just a great family. And like you said, like getting to know Joel too and meet some of his other brothers along the way. They're just, they're just happy people, man. They're just happy, kind-hearted people and treat people nice.
Yeah, it's again, that's what we all need in life. We need more Ryan Dempsters. We need more people who are real, true, and just bring a little fun to this world. And just like the Murrays, Ryan Dempster does that. So
I got a great person to learn from. My dad Wally taught me well.
Well, it sounds like it. And did you ever think about being a firefighter? Back to your brother real quick. I just thought about that. Did you ever think about being a first responder?
Yeah, I did. I grew up in the fire hall. My dad was a firefighter from the time I was 7 years old, and then a fire chief. And we kind of grew up. My dad needed to go take care of some things at the fire hall, so me and my brothers would go to the bay and play hide and seek amongst the trucks, and we'd be crawling in little compartments of the water truck and all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to be a baseball player. My middle brother and I would be running around with tennis balls playing, tennis ball tag. And my other brother would be reading, Chris, who's the firefighter in Vancouver, he'd be reading reports on the previous week's fires in the dispatch room. So I'm like, oh, look at this dork. He's going to be sure. So I did. I have a special place, obviously, in my heart for firefighters and first responders. I said, my dad was a fire chief. Both my brothers were firefighters. I have uncles who are firefighters. I'm the black sheep of the family. So I'm the only one who wasn't out there saving lives.
I'd say you've done all right with yourself. I think you're doing okay. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being a part of this and taking a few minutes. Thanks so much, my friend.
Always great. Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, let's get a beverage soon. One of these days I want to see the karaoke room in Demp's Playhouse.
Yeah. What's your go-to? You got to have one. I know you got one.
You know, I've always been like a Johnny Cash, like Ring of Fire. I definitely dig. You know, the secret to me is you always want to do a song that everyone knows, so that they hopefully drown you out. You know, I definitely like some Johnny Cash for that. You know, Jackson. If you got somebody to sing with, Jackson's a good one.
Yeah, we'll get you and Kelly on that one. She rocks a Mean June Carter Cash on that. So
say that, and that's what I need, because then everyone would be looking at her, and they wouldn't even know I was there, because she's a fantastic woman and beautiful and all the things. So yeah, that's what you want. You want a song where everyone's singing it better than you, and you want a beautiful woman next to you, so that they're not even looking at you. That's my keys to karaoke.
I love it. Those should be posts. Keys to karaoke. That's going up on Twitter right now.
Ryan, thanks so much. Have yourself a great weekend. Ryan Dempster, everybody. Ryan, thanks so much for taking time to be on My Three Things. I'll share links down below to everything you mentioned, including the charity aspects and the 3 favorite things. We'll put those in the description below so everybody can track those down. And as I said earlier, please hashtag My Three Things Podcast. Please share this with your friends, family, and anybody else you think may be interested in it as well. And tune in next week for another episode of My Three Things. Until then.